Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Mohannad AlKalash, founder of CyberX. We are really excited this year to be part of MENA ISIC, the online version. This year is very interesting year during the pandemic and COVID-19 year, and hopefully that we're gonna have a great interaction and we'll have a great session for today. For the coming 20 minutes, I'm gonna talk about Security Operations Center and effectiveness. I have a very extensive experience in cybersecurity and building mega cybersecurity projects and building mega cybersecurity operation centers. So please, anyone wants to connect with me, please feel free. This is my social media account, and I will be glad to connect with you and have a great and fruitful discussions. And this is the agenda for today's session. What is SOC? The Security Operations Center's myths, the SOC maturity levels, building an effective SOC, and measuring effectiveness. And this is very important to measure the effectiveness of your security operations centers for any entity. It's not if nor when. The real question is, are you aware and capable? We always in CyberX start with awareness. Awareness is very important. It's the basic, and this is the building stone that you're gonna build any security program in your organization. So you have to be aware, and you need to check your capabilities in terms of technology, policies and procedures, and people. You need to have skilled people as well. So always start with awareness, then check your capabilities. So one of the things that we need to discuss today, and we need to shed the light, that the attacks is becoming more sophisticated and becoming more advanced and becoming more impactful. So I just bring some diverse type of attacks. As you can see here, wild pressure, the John Rat, and oil rig. As you can see from these three attacks are targeting different segments, targeting different verticals. One of them is for industrial entities, and one of them is for the cloud providers, and the last one is the telecommunication organizations. So you can expect an attack from a very basic vulnerabilities. So always make sure that you don't have the weakest line on chain, because it's very important that you retain your people and you retain your organization security. You have to be secure enough and you have to be ready. So based on that, there is a mega attack happened and leakage in the hotel chain Marriott in 2018. As you can see, there were unauthorized access to their databases for 4 years. 4 years of compromising and discovery of the attack. And as you can see, there is a 500 millions record, including the personal identification. This is very critical, and it harmed the reputation of the Marriott systems big time. And on top of this, the UK authorities fined Marriott with $123 million. So it was a disaster for Marriott from all aspects. So as you can imagine, that it can be very harmful. What is security operations centers? Some people, they think that security operations centers is about 3 screens and some desks with people equipped with desktops, and that's it. Honestly speaking, it's bigger than that. It has to be from facility perspective, that facility where security staff, they are sitting there, monitor and defend and try to proactively identify and mitigate security risks. This is very important to start moving from the reactive mode into proactive mode. And this, as we are going to explain, it will depend on the maturity level of the security on the organization. So we're going to talk about a lot of how you can monitor these stuff and how you can defend and how you can proactively identify and mitigate securities. One of the SOC myths is technology is a silver bullet. Technology is very important aspect. Yes, true. So a lot of discussion that we get in that people are trying to prefer vendor on top of vendor, especially in the firewall arena. This is very important and crucial, yes. But at the end of the day, technology won't work alone. that it's kind of a pillars. There is a three main pillars: the technology, people, along with the policies and procedures. Second thing is SOC jobs for juniors. This is absolutely myth, and there is a lot of roles within the Security Operations Center that we're going to explain in the next slide. But as you can see, that a lot of people, they have this understanding that SOC is for juniors only. This is not true. Collecting everything, that it will get you into that you are collecting, if you are collecting like rubbish in, you will get rubbish output, and you will have many of false positives, which you're gonna waste a lot of resources of your organization and your security staff to review and monitor all of these false positives. So try to identify and make sure to classify what kind of information or data that you want to collect. Outsourcing SOC along with responsibility and risk, again, this is a myth, because you have to be involved as an organization in your security. If you are trying to have a managed security services provider, then you're outsourcing the operation for them, but still the governance, it has to be through you, and along with the reporting, dashboarding, that you need to make sure you have a very tight relation with this MSSP. Here we are going to talk about the duties that for people resides in security operation centers. There is four main jobs in security operation centers. The tier one is the alert analyst. The alert analysts who manage and configure security monitoring tools and start prioritizing and alerting about the issues or breaches are happening on the organization. Tier 2 is the incident responder. The incident responder who performs deep analysis, correlates with threat intelligence to identify the threat actor. And Tier 3, or the threat hunter, that who conducts vulnerability assessment and penetration testing and actively hunts for threats that have found their way into the network. The SOC manager, basically, he is the point of contact for SOC, who's the guy who's connecting between the business and the security operation centers. Here we're going to talk about the security operation centers maturity levels. There is 5 main categories, as you can see from this figure. First one is the initial. They are minimalists. No SIM, no logging, basic firewall at perimeter, and antivirus in use. Everything is okay. The second one, developing. The reactive mode, which again, there is no SIM, some logging. There might be a patch management added, dedicated firewall at on DMZ maybe, a basic identity and access management added. So usually they don't really spend a lot of money on security, and they are into reactive mode. If there is something happened, we will start reacting. The third category, which is defined, the concerned. They're considering a SIM or has basic SIM deployment. They have a very tight budget and overwhelmed with alert that they are facing at the prioritizing addressing threats. So they are concerned about security, but they don't really have a lot of budgets to spend on security. Fourth category is managed, advanced. They have budget to invest in security. They have SIM integrated with most areas that in the infrastructure, considering analytics as a way to cut down on alert fatigue, looking to increase operation and trying to get more personnel, but there is an issue always with the skilled personnel or skilled people in their environment. The last one is optimizing, the mature security organization. They are very knowledgeable about security. They are continuously innovate and improve their programs, and they might be advanced to extend they have a security academy. Those guys are very mature in SIM deployment, integrated with all physical and virtual environments, perform threat hunting with senior threat analysts. So they are very mature. So I want you to take a look, and I'm sure that you may identify your organization to be one of under these categories. Now, to build an effective SOC, there is 4 basic aspects that you need to think about. First of all is know your maturity level. It's very important to know your maturity level and to be honest with yourself so you can build your strategies and security programs in very informed manner. The second one is know your environment well. When you have the right visibility and the right tools to give you the actual environment that you have, the real assets that the environment contains, it will give you a great chance to enhance and improve. Classify your data and define goals and along with use cases. Building use cases and playbooks is very important and very essential for every organization. So try to minimize the ad hoc procedures as much as possible. Considering MSSP, as we start talking about MSSP, make sure that you are involved in the contracting process. Make sure that you have a clear service level agreement, a clear operation level agreement, a clear penalties. It's very important that you know this MSSP what's going to do on your environment, because if there is something happened, God forbid, this will impact you directly and will impact your reputation and only you directly. So you have to be very cautious and very involved in this contracting with MSSP. Here is some tips while you are procuring your technology. First of all, you need to check the licensing scheme of the vendor because you have only one budget throughout the year. So you need to use this budget wisely. As it's not always getting the cheaper technology is a wise thing to do. So you need to be very careful. However, in CyberX, we have CyberX software. In CyberX software, we don't charge per user or per event. We are charging on the platform. So you buy or procure the platform and you can use it as much as possible. This is one example. Scalability and timeline. The scalability, the system should be scalable enough to contain your environment, and the time to go live is becoming very easy and very straightforward. There is a great technology out there in the market, but the thing that it might take you years or several months to be live and to be available in your environment. Look compatibility and integration. It has to compatible with most of the logs out there in the market or in your environment. Analytics and correlation engines. It has a very sophisticated correlation engine. This will operationally, it will not consume a lot of time of your team. Threat intelligence and artificial intelligence features, it has to be either integratable with it or it has to be built in, because this is way to go in the security arena nowadays. Visualization and reporting. The system should be capable to produce an executive reports and technical reports. Ease of deployment and resource utilization. You need to make sure that the environment or your environment or the data center is ready to host such technology. And you need to have a clear retention policy in your environment, and you make sure that your systems is capable to comply with this policy. Vendor support. The vendor support is very important to be on site and to be having an online system. And it's very, I think it's becoming a basic thing, but you will be amazed how many vendors, they don't support you whenever, in case of failure. So make sure that you're getting these steps in mind while you are procuring the technology. I'm going to share with you this is the dashboard of the SIM of CyberX that it covers and working with network, compliance, performance, along with security, as well as that we are covering the application layer. It's very important to highlight this, and please feel free to go to our booth and our team will help you to understand and show you a demo about our softwares. Develop incident handling and response plan. This one is very important to have an incident handling and handling the incidents properly. Identify information related to incident, causes, consequences, business impact. It has to be written and it has to be available to the team so they can perform incident pattern analysis to correlate separate events. Very important. Now we're gonna give you an example. Nest is very well-known standard. The incident response cycle for Nest, as you can see, there is a 6 stages of this cycle. Let's start with the preparation, which review and codify the underlying security policy that informs your incident response plan. Identification is perform a risk assessment and prioritize security issues. Identify which are the most sensitive assets that you have in your environment. Containment, usually containment, it has two, one is short term and the other is long term. The short term basically is to isolate the problem. The long term, starting temporarily fixing the problem. Eradication is getting the root cause of the analysis about the problem and start waiving this problem from the root of the problem. So in the eradication stage, that you make sure that there is no incident at all. This incident, it's got cleared. Recovery, make sure that your systems are up and running again, and you need to document the lessons learned on whatever incident happened. Build incident response playbook. Rules, actions to be executed when triggered by events. Bridge the gap between policies and procedures and security automation orchestration. How to build this playbook? There is a lot and many open sources that we can share it with you if you want. Please send to me or send to CyberX team, and they will be able to share a lot of open sources of a playbook. And I'm going to share an example. Here is an example of phishing playbook. As you can see here from the left hand side, when there is a trigger or event triggered, suspected email received. Parsing and evaluate the email. If the email contains URL or attachment, it will go into two directions. If it contains attachment, then compute hash, sending hash if there is a malicious hash. If yes, then delete the email. If no, email to notify and thank user. Same goes to contain URLs. If there is a suspicious or malicious URL, if yes, delete the email. If no, email to notify and thank you user. And this case is very straightforward. There is much complicated situations that you need to have a playbook for it. Here is the last part of my presentation for today. We used to measure the effectiveness of the Security Operations Center by the mean time to identify and the mean time to contain. And we were showing some numbers to the board or the top management, like the number of reported incidents, the number of incidents being handled and rated properly. However, these numbers, if we are showing year by year that these numbers are declining, does not mean anything, because in reality there is sometimes that you are not seeing other activities are happening in your environment and still you have been deceived by these numbers. However, we are putting here a suggested metric that it contains twofold: the configuration confidence and the operational confidence. In the configuration confidence, you need to know, are your controls are running properly? Is there any change in your control? Because it's very important. There is a lot of organization, they just putting some boxes and there is no change happens on these boxes for years. Third thing is configure to best practices of the vendor. Are you aligned with the vendor, that the technology provider, with their best practices? If no, I think you need to start, because it's very important to make sure that you are following the best practice of the vendor himself. How many features are being used on this technology? The traffic visibility. The traffic visibility, it's essential. It's very important that you know your environment and you can see all the traffic are going around in your environment. This and the configuration confidence part. And the second part is the operational confidence. Can you handle the attack when it happens? Can you evaluate each analyst, how many events per hour that the analysts are covering? You will be amazed that a lot of security operation centers that they are being handled by 1 or 2 persons at max, while there is a lot of people, or there are a lot of people are sitting in the Security Operations Center. Is there a duplicate incidents? This is very important, because if you have a lot of duplicate incidents, that means you have a lot of false positives. So it will go back to the configuration confidence. You need to reconfigure your systems. Alerts for known threats. This comes with the threat intelligence integration and artificial intelligence integration. It's very important that from operation point of view that you have alerts for the known threats and your systems are up to date. Deviation from SOC procedures. You don't want to handle a lot of ad hoc situations. If so, that you need to put for these situations a playbook for each ad hoc situation to make sure that you are covering from configuration confidence and operational confidence. On the old metric, we're going to show you that the analyst time distribution between the old metric and the new metric. In the old metric, that the analyst takes most of his time on identifying the issue. And as you can see that for investigation, it will take a very minimal efforts or time, and then we'll start to mitigate, because usually it comes with, a lot of chaos. In the second metric, the identification will become very easy, because the systems have the configuration confidence and the operational confidence. The investigation, that you will take a lot of time on investigation to make sure that you clear the root cause of this problem, and the mitigation will be straightforward based on the playbook. So if I want to summarize that the Security Operations Center, it contains three main pillars: technology, people, and processes. The more likely we are assume that the solution comes from outside, the less likely we are to solve our problems. This is very important, guys. If you don't have the skilled people, if you don't have the policies and procedures in place, if you don't have the technology or the right technology in place, that I think that you need to rethink and reshuffle things in your organization. That was my time with you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you today. I hope that I tried to explain at least minimal stuff about Security Operations Center. This is our social media accounts on social media. Please help us with like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you in our booths, and looking forward to have a fruitful engagement with you. I'm very happy to be in MENA Icing, the online version, and looking forward to see you in our booth. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.